Yes, welcome to the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy, once again hosting a business communication professional. And when we listen to the conversation, we will get tips and strategies which will benefit our business. Thanks for being with us today. Our guest today is Christine Corelli, based in the Chicago area, yet working globally. Christine is an in-demand keynote speaker and the author of 6 business books. As a business speaker, she's known for her high energy, high involvement, and often provocative style. As a management consultant, her clients remark on her innate ability to see into the heart of issues and solve problems. An expert in group dynamics, Christine is comfortable with groups of any size. She's also known as a master at obtaining audience interaction, which you and I know is very important. People leave her sessions refocused, energized, and armed with how-tos. And one thing she does not mention in this LinkedIn profile that I'm quoting from, she's a very accomplished musician as well. Her many talents have helped clients from major corporations and associations, and I know that she will help us today as we discuss important issues about business communication. So I know that you want to join me in welcoming Christine Corelli. Hello, Christine.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and thank you for listening. I hope everyone is well and happy.
Yes, indeed. Christine, I mentioned that you, for about 3 decades now, have been an in-demand professional speaker. And one of the things I'm quite sure of is that among the hundreds of audiences that you have faced, every time you give a compelling speech, there are business leaders in the audience who say, gee, I wish I could do that. And I think back to my own 20 years in management. I remember one department chair who, when we would bring together the 40 or 50 people in the department for a twice a month meeting, everybody in the department was very disturbed because this presenter was so ill at ease. You could tell he wasn't enjoying it. And certainly we weren't enjoying it because he did not have the poise that a speaker needs. So give us some tips which work for you and which will work for us when we're conducting meetings or when we're giving a report to our board, or maybe even as a business leader, we're speaking at a convention. What are 3 or 4 or 5 tips that you would pass along that will be helpful to us?
I can do that. Okay, one of the things I would say is to be prepared and have an agenda set. If you are giving a speech, you have to have, of course, a flow, and you have to give examples of points that you make. You have to walk up with confidence, and your audience, whoever they may be, is listening for the confidence behind the words you speak. So you have to speak with confidence. And I know when I first started, I didn't have a lot of confidence, but I faked it. And now I know that you should have a lot of confidence when you get up to speak at any time. The other thing is, I like to not give speeches, but have conversations. And I find that if you're at a meeting or giving directions to your team, have conversations with them. Don't just tell them what to do. Have conversations with them and ask for their opinions and their feedback and involve them in what you are talking about. And sometimes you can simply involve them by making a point and say, what do you think? And they like that. Somebody is always going to raise their hand and give an opinion.
I applaud all of those points, and they've been very helpful to me in my professional speaking career as well. And when I coach clients, I give them those pointers. As far as preparation goes, Christine, one of the items that I give them that I think makes the point real clear to them, I say, the more preparation you have ahead of time, the less perspiration you'll have.
That's a good, good line. Maybe I'll steal that if it's okay.
Yes, and you don't even have to give me credit. But the more
Okay,
preparation, the less
right.
perspiration. But let's talk
Okay.
just a second about what that preparation should be.
Okay. Well,
Traditionally, go ahead. Give your side of that. What should that preparation be?
I'll share how I learned to be a professional speaker and speak clearly, concisely. And what I did was anytime I talked on the phone or I talked to a friend or I had a gathering, I would talk as if I was giving a speech. Now, they didn't know that, but what I did was make sure that I enunciated, make sure that I didn't say or huh. And I did that. And I always teach people to practice that way when they are learning how to communicate with strength. And you can do it every day. And that's how I learned to polish when I first started out.
That's an excellent suggestion. And it reminds me very much, some of our viewers on YouTube and some of our listeners on podcast will remember the Johnny Carson show and his longtime sidekick, Ed McMahon. And I remember him saying to an interviewer one time that off camera, when he was with a bunch of buddies, when he was out just socializing, he never used off-color language. And they said, why? And he said, because I want to train myself for how I'm going to be on camera. And your suggestion is excellent. To develop a style which is clear, you enunciate, you have variety in your speech. When you do that in your interpersonal reactions, then there's no problem doing that
Right.
when you're talking with an audience. And then something else I certainly want to underscore, and we had this when I was introducing you, we included this and you just mentioned it as well, and that is interacting with your audience. One of the dullest ways and one of the to present and one of the surest ways to cure everybody's insomnia is just to get up there and monologue. We are an interactive society now. And if you go back to that long time ago beloved comedian Jimmy Durante said, everybody wants to get in on the act. And the thing that happens when you get people involved, as you've already alluded to, first of all, you get good ideas from them. You also get questions from them. You get input and feedback. And one of the things that happens from that is people feel a part of it. And one of the things they will say when you end the presentation is, gosh, you know, the time just flew by.
Yes, it always does. It always does. And, you know, when I have to do even a 3 or 4 hour training program, the time flies by, but that's because I love what I do. That's because I love what I do and I love interacting with people. And you can simply make a statement and just throw this to the audience. Do you agree with me? And they'll raise their hand and they're involved. And then at certain points, I'll say, what comments do you have? Then I'll say, do you have any questions? And I don't wait till the very end. I do it as I move from segment to segment or from point to point. And we also have to remember that we have to know our audience, Bill. If there are young people on this listening, they don't know who Jimmy Durante is. And how do I know that? Because a client came up to me afterwards and said, you don't know your audience very well. And I was appalled because
I bet you were.
Studied hard and I'm always doing, you know, ready for accolades. And he said, I gave a Vince Lombardi quote. And he said, these are all young people. They don't know who Vince Lombardi is. So,
That's
so if I
exactly
ever use
right.
that quote, I'll say, you know, a beloved and well-known in the past Vince Lombardi.
Yes, we have to use timely, current illustrations. And I imagine you've heard that there's a university, I can't remember which one, but there's a university which every year circulates a memo. I guess now it's probably on email to all their faculty members, telling them these are names and events this year that your students would not be familiar with.
Oh,
I remember when I was
that's
going to college,
interesting.
I remember my history prof had some. I'm promising you, his index cards were yellow. They had been
Oh,
used so long. So our
yeah,
illustrations, that's a great point, have to
yeah.
be timely. And if we refer to something that might not be timely, we have to explain what it is. Christine, you've also talked about, and you've mentioned this already, you talked about listening to your audience. And let's just talk about listening skills to begin with, whether you're speaking to an audience or whether you're working with a client or whether you deal in sales a great bit. And I'll tell you that one of the presentations that I've given across the years is entitled "Listen Your Way to the Top," and that's a shocker to people. They think you talk your way to the top. But give us some of your ideas and strategies about listening skills, how important they are,
Okay,
and how we can improve them.
sure. Well, first of all, why is it so hard for us to listen? Well, we all know the answer because we have so much on our mind. I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And look at all these projects. And we get on a phone call and that's still going through our mind and we're not focused. That is why you need to completely focus, whether you're on the phone or whether you're face to face. If you are on the phone and not on video, of course, you might close your eyes and concentrate and stay focused on what the person is saying if you have a hard time. And sometimes there might be distractions, which is why it's a good thing to close your eyes.
I've never heard that recommendation, but it's a good one. You don't have to
Yeah.
be worrying about what your dog or cat are doing.
And listen, okay, not only to the words someone is saying, but their feelings and what their emotions might be. So, and tune into that as well. That will determine how you will respond to the person. So that is really important for listening. And listening, like Jeffrey Gitomer says, you'll never listen yourself out of a customer. And to show people you're listening by maintaining eye contact. If you're in a room with a group of people and you look away from the person you're talking to see who else might be walking in the room, what does that tell that person? That they're not very important to you. So make eye contact. And when you are talking to them, make sure you nod your head. And if you're talking to an employee or someone complaining about something, listen. And if you are face to face, nod your head. If you're on the phone, say, I see. And then say, tell me more. And that shows that you are listening. And of course, everyone knows that if you are not 100% sure, or you want to make sure you got things right, you simply say, okay, let me repeat back what you said. So I made sure I got this right. You called and someone was rude to you on the phone and transferred you and put you on hold and the other person never picked up. That's unacceptable. I am so sorry. I'm just giving you an example. So
I applaud every comment that you made. I think where you're talking about not keeping eye contact. How many times, Christine, have we been at networking events? You're talking with someone and you know doggone good and well, they are looking over your shoulder trying to find, quote, the important people that they want to talk with.
yeah, that happens sometimes.
Uh,
And then
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the other question I'm asked quite often is, how do you break away from someone who starts talking and they go on and, or they're trying to sell you something and you're not interested or whatever it might be. And you want to break away gracefully to say, oh, excuse me, I'd love to keep talking to you, but I just saw somebody that I need to speak to. I'll come back later and chat with you perhaps. And that's how you graciously break away.
Tactful suggestion there. Christine, we have time to explore something else that you are a master of, and you told me that this happened early in your first profession, and that is cold calling. You told me that your supervisor at the time would have you make as many as 40 cold calls a day. Now, many of us who are in sales, and of course, whatever we do, we're in sales because we're trying to get more customers, more clients, expand our business. And most of us are just doggone afraid of that telephone. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid we're disturbing somebody. We're afraid they will probably tell us off. And yet you clearly have mastered cold calling. So give us a few tips about that, please.
Well, I'll share this, shall I say, success story. Before I started my own company, I worked for another training and development company. And I was in sales, and the president of the company was really tough. And he would tell his reps, you need to make 40 calls a day, 40. If you don't make 40, that's not enough. And I would actually mark 1, 2, 3, 4, crossfire 5, and I would do that. All right. And it was grueling, but after a while, it just became second nature. I knew what I was going to say. I knew how to lead a voice message. I knew how to talk to people. And what happened was I realized that that wasn't really my path. And I found my path to being a professional speaker and having my own training and development company. How did I get started? Because I was disciplined, and this guy used to come and pound his fist. You got to make 40 calls a day. And I made 40 calls a day because I was disciplined to do it.
And that's how you started your company.
Marketing, yeah. Today we have social marketing, and we have many other ways, LinkedIn and all YouTube and all these other ways to market ourselves. So you need to do all of the above. But a lot of people are afraid to cold call. And in my sales training program, I have all the excuses someone might have for not calling.
Oh, I bet they're 25 or 30.
Oh, everybody's confused with the holidays, busy with the holidays. Oh, this is a bad time to call.
Can't call on Mondays, can't call on Fridays.
Yes, 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 yes.
Christine, you are a marvelous resource. And I certainly encourage our viewers on YouTube and our podcast listeners to get in touch with you. So we need to know how to do that. Please give us your contact information.
Well, my website is christinespeaks.com, and that's CHRISTINESPEKS.com. My phone, 847-477-7376. My email, cc@christinespeaks.com. How original.
Thank you, Christine. And I've known Christine and her work since 1997. I've watched her career blossom. I've seen her go through the economic downturns that we've all had to face. I've seen her go through the shifts in how we present now that we do a great deal of that virtually online. I've seen her produce 6 books about business. She is a marvelous resource, and I encourage everyone to get in touch with her. I feel so privileged to host her again. And now that Christine has given her contact information, I'm delighted to give mine. Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy. So logically, my website is B-I-Z, bizcommunicationguy.com. Invite you to go there, check my services for organizations and for leaders, and give me a call. Additionally, to see all of the Biz Communication Show interviews, they're all on my YouTube channel. I invite you to go there and subscribe. That channel is Bill Lampton, Ph.D. Go there and you've got some wonderful learning opportunities by listening to these wonderful guests who've given me the privilege of hosting them. Christine, any closing comments for 20 or 30 seconds?
Yes, everyone be well, be smart, stay healthy, strive for continuous improvement. And Bill, has been a pleasure to work with you. And thank you so much for your kind words about my career. I appreciate them.
Well, they're well merited, believe me. Thanks again to those of you, and thanks again to Christine, and thanks again to those of you who have joined us today. Be with us again next week for another visit with a highly competent business communication professional. On the Biz Communication Show, I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy.